I met my fiancé approximately 3 years ago. We moved in together the year before he proposed. Our relationship has been excellent thus far. He is kind, gentle, compassionate, and incredible. He was married before me, but their union terminated 5 years ago. Although he never talks about her, he appears to be in excellent terms with her ex-wife. They live with us every other week and have a daughter together who is about 6 years old. Co-parenting is working out nicely. As I previously mentioned, my fiancé never talks about or brings up his ex-wife. At first, I was inquisitive and asked him multiple times about his marriage and his life, but all he ever replied was that they weren't meant to be together. I've lost my curiosity. The only issue I have is that my fiancé gave her his father's large, exquisite 4-bedroom condo in the city. We live in a considerably smaller, non-city apartment with 2 bedrooms, even if they had a prenuptial agreement. I thought it strange that he simply doesn't return the apartment because we spend half of our time with my stepdaughter. In addition, since she lives in the middle of everything, he left her his Porsche, which she hardly ever uses. He also owns the automobile. I was the girlfriend, so I never really talked about it before. Since my fiancé proposed, I've been making plans and considering our future, and I feel like I have more influence over our financial situation now. I brought up the possibility of us reclaiming his place. Now that we have 3, we intend to have more kids. She works well and is unmarried. She is no longer, in my opinion, my husband's duty. Here in this enlightened European nation, there is no system of child support or alimony payments. Every time I broached the topic, he diverted my attention. He assured us that we would manage or move to a larger apartment once we had more kids and that we were doing well. I was getting quite upset, but he was avoiding the topic. Even if we did move, it would never be to a rent-free apartment similar to the one his ex occupies. I asked around, but nobody seemed to know why he handed her everything. In addition to being perplexed, my soon-to-be sister-in-law is also angry that he would just hand her everything. Because my fiancé was working late last Friday, I had to leave my stepdaughter with her mother. Given that we are now 3 and that I will soon become his wife, I asked her if she would return the flat to us. I apologized to her since. I thought she was a little offended, but she told me I didn't need to and that I was correct. She acknowledged the reasonableness of my question. I informed my fiancé what had happened when I got home. I could feel his anger building, but all he said was that we were done talking about it and that if I brought it up again, it was over. I began to cry and asked him why, but he gave no further explanation. He simply stated that we were done talking about it, very cool and collected, if I ever brought it up again. After 3 hours, he returned home after going out. He informed me that if his ex moved out, it would be between us, thus it appears that she gave him the go-ahead to move out. Now, I'm at a loss on what to do. I don't understand. Since he is the sole person opposed to this plan, it is likely that he wants me to persuade his ex-partner to remain in his flat. Although I didn't mean any harm, it seems strange that she was living in my soon-to-be husband's house for free. How can I handle this mess right now? I don't believe my request is all that unusual. In name as much as in reality, we are a family now. Because of her ex's success, she could buy her and her stepdaughter something more modest. I'm not sure. Please don't be critical, I truly need your assistance. I didn't think it was appropriate for the OP to bring up the flat with the ex. Indeed, I recognize that OP worries about their future and their children, but given that she isn't even engaged or pregnant yet, I believe she is a little too eager to get into things. OP's fiancé doesn't appear to be particularly open with her, though, either. It appears that the person in question committed something and handed the flat to his ex in an attempt to feel less guilty because people typically do things like that when they are feeling sorry about something. Is OP genuinely interested in marrying someone who won't be open with her about their innermost thoughts? OP is going to have a difficult and stressful time if he refuses to provide OP with an explanation for his actions. Not because of the apartment, but rather because my fiancé won't tell me what's going on. I would also be perplexed and angry. Let's find out what the community thinks about this. Lil Panda Toys 5198 states, "You shouldn't have gone behind his back. You have less right to the apartment than anyone else in this story, and it isn't your place to demand for what he freely gave." Also, it doesn't sound like your fiancé is willing to share much of his life with you, e.g., what happened with his marriage and why he's supporting her. I would be more concerned about that. Confused Advice 59 states, what confuses me the most is why OP would do this even after her partner promised they'd find a bigger place if needed. What is your infatuation with this apartment that was never even yours? There really isn't any other advice to give. If you approach the conversation again, be prepared not to have a fiancé anymore. He set his boundaries, and you continue to break them. He seems hell-bent on not telling you and doesn't care to leave you over it. Are you sure this guy is good? Miss Winter Sarang 220 says, he left his apartment to his ex-wife and his child. The child is the big part here. He's ensuring his child's future, which is exactly what he should do. You had no right to go behind his back. And if I was him, I would rethink your whole relationship. It's none of your business what he does with his money, and his inheritance is going to his daughter. His daughter is his priority, and it should be. Update: the apartment is worth $3 million, or maybe closer to $4 million. Even if my fiancé got it from his father, it has been in his family since the late 1800s, early 1900s. My fiancé is not rich by any means, and we will never afford something this beautiful. That's why I wanted to know why the ex lived there. For the many who said it's for the kid's sake, this isn't true, since the kid would still be living half her time in that apartment. And that I'm not entitled to it. Is she? My fiancé and I are planning to have a life together and many children. I find it very odd, therefore, that only one of his children would get that luxury. Judge me all you want. I appreciate the few adults who can see where I'm coming from. It just felt so unfair. Let me now introduce my fiancé. I confronted him with everything I knew. I spoke with the wife of my fiancé's best buddy. The only people who knew what happened, outside my fiancé and his ex, were her and her husband. When my fiancé's close buddy had a bachelor party, he had an affair with another woman. There's no explanation for him being inebriated, nor for it being an isolated incident. His friend told him not to inform his wife, who was at the time quite pregnant, but my fiancé was unable to handle the shame. His wife filed for divorce 6 months into the marriage. I have to admit that when my fiancé heard all of that, I felt repulsed. I was in tears the entire time. I was really disappointed in myself. His wife made the decision to claim that their marriage was failing because she didn't want their young daughter to grow up disliking or devaluing her father. Upon moving out, my fiancé gave her access to nearly everything he possessed, including his personal funds. I asked him why he had never informed me any of this when I confronted him with all of this. That was Wednesday, and ever since I saw his ex-wives, he had been quiet and aloof with me. I deeply regret doing that. He explained that it was because he was living with regrets and felt ashamed. Then he informed me he was speaking with a lawyer about formally giving his ex-wife the flat. I nearly lost it because I was so shocked. When I questioned him about why he hadn't done it sooner, he replied that he didn't think it was necessary. However, my visit was the last straw for his ex, who now wants to move out after hearing hurtful remarks from my fiancé's family and friends. He seemed perplexed when I questioned, "What about us and our children?" I asked him, "What about us?" I wanted to know if he felt it was right that his biological daughter and his ex-girlfriend would share this huge fortune with her future family, or if he believed it was unfair to keep it all for themselves. He became really agitated and informed me that many of people have wonderful lives without being wealthy. She owned the apartment. It became her home. While they were engaged and just got married, she made it her ideal house by remodeling and furnishing it. His father was glad she was realizing how much he loved her. The least he could do to her now was to leave it to her. I started crying and asked him if he loved me, to which he replied, of course he did, more than her. He stated that the two situations were unrelated because they occurred at separate times and included different kinds of love. He became agitated and asked me why I was putting him under such pressure when I asked him whether he regretted what he had done and if he could go back, would he change it? He replied, of course, even if it meant we wouldn't eat. He hurt a lot of people and made a grave error. Naturally, if given the opportunity, he would make the correction if not for himself, then at least to ease the burden of guilt he bears on a daily basis. Since he told me how much he loved me and how much he looked forward to our future together, I haven't stopped crying. However, he won't talk to me about whether he still feels something for his ex. While I do think that he loves me, there are moments when I wonder if he still harbors romantic feelings for her. He interacts with her, and I've never sensed anything fishy. They treat one another with such courtesy and kindness. He never flirts or does anything else that I see. However, his friend's wife informed me that she and her husband believe my fiancé and his ex still have a great love for one another and that they always believed they would get back together as the pain subsided. It's been 6 years, and I find it unsettling that she hasn't been in a relationship or that she is receiving something that is not hers. It feels like she is robbing me of my dreams. In the long run, I believe I'm losing my mind. He acknowledged that he feels better now, but he is still quite upset with me for defying his wishes and remains aloof with me. He no longer keeps this important secret from me. He said to me that perhaps it was time for everyone to see him for who he truly was, even his child. I have no intention of outing him, but this isn't a secret. 2009, yearned Bella, a 23-year-old woman, married Fred, a 27-year-old man. 2010 saw the divorce of my dad and my mother Lisa, a 50-year-old woman at the time. 2012, our daughter was barely 3 months old when Fred filed for divorce. During that trying period, I turned to my mother for support. Thank goodness I had a network of support because I was broken on the inside. However, my mother was quite aloof and moved to a different location a few months after my divorce. Even before I heard the startling news, my life was challenging enough. At the time, Lisa, a 53-year-old woman, was seeing Fred, a 31-year-old man who was my daughter's father. I was on the verge of fainting from pain. Everyone in the family ceased conversing with Lisa after being taken aback. For me, it was a chaotic period. I had no idea what to do. After some time, I got remarried. Another daughter of mine. I was different, but my life still went well. I no longer have faith in anyone. I wait for the worst all the time. I still require sleeping tablets. In 2021, I was living a happy married life with 2 kids and a nice family when I received the news that my 39-year-old father, Fred, had passed away. I believe he had only seen my daughter 3 times since the divorce. Since they had no relationship at all, I didn't care about that, and my daughter didn't either. Well, Lisa was making things difficult, such as trying to hide some of the things he had to keep from my daughter, his only daughter, so the entire inheritance process and everything else was a disaster. Everything was resolved after a great deal of work, but I know that she told people that I took advantage of the fact that some of her belongings were in his name to share in the settlement. In 2023, my younger sister Gabby, a 31-year-old woman, began to talk about how Lisa had changed a lot since Fred passed away, that she regretted her decisions, and that she wished there had been another opportunity to put things right. I find that completely implausible, and each time she brings it up, we argue. I don't want to be in a relationship with Lisa, and it's okay if she's not feeling well. I don't have to start over and forgive her in order to be friends with her again. Gabby told me this weekend that she wanted to invite Lisa to my nephew's birthday party. I told her it was okay, but since she usually goes after my husband and my girls, I'm not attending. I'm irritated with Gabby because she keeps trying to persuade me to give Lisa another chance. However, Gabby is quite insistent, and because I have my family and everything is good and Lisa is alone now that Fred has passed away, some people believe that I am being unkind. She can be as alone as she wants, I don't care. Here, am I the a-hole? Am I acting wickedly? I apologize, am I understanding this correctly? Some believe Op's mother should be given another shot even though she tried to withhold inheritance goods from Opie's daughter and slept with and married Opie's ex-husband. It appears that Opie's mother will eventually have to face the repercussions of her previous deeds. Op's sister cannot force Op to have a relationship with her mother, she is free to choose to have one of her own. I believe that Op's sister is going too far in asking Op to pardon her. Opie's mother committed an act of extreme betrayal. Let's find out what the community thinks. Sato adds, alright, okay, not the a-hole. Lisa is repulsive, and Gabby is rather feisty. Why would she want anyone anywhere around her children who is willing to be involved in ruining her daughter's life? Until Gabby obtains what she believes she wants out of her relationship with Lisa, I would block her. I wouldn't even consider speaking with her until she sincerely apologizes for pressuring you to consider Lisa at all. She is naive. Not the a-hole, says Love Beach 8. I'm sorry to say it, but you need to cut off, or at least restrict, communication with your sister. She is being extremely demanding, rude, and pushy. Do the same with your mother. Before you do that, let her know that it was all about you and not her. Since she is not you, she has no concept how it felt or how it has long-term effects on your life and the life of your daughter. The Emerald Gal responds, mind you, she's only sorry because he's dead. They're both horrible and vile people. No mother would ever do that to her child. You were raised by a demon. Don't ever talk to her again. Not the a-hole. According to what I understand of the case, my sister was in a relationship when she was 18 or 19 that she shouldn't have been in, since if she became pregnant, it could seriously jeopardize the guy's life. He offered her money in exchange for her keeping his identity a secret because she refused to adopt. She agreed because our stepdad was threatening to throw her out at the time, and he still pays her ridiculous amounts of child support. She still works, but she has a sizable savings account, her student loans are essentially paid off. My nephew has a trust fund that will be available to him when he gets 25, and she can afford to buy him things like a Switch. I'm not supposed to know any of this, but I pieced everything together using information my sister has revealed over the years and the fact that I met the guy when they were dating. And my sister told me that I was correct when I asked her directly. My nephew was 7 years old, and my sister is currently 27. The other day, as I was watching TV with him while I was babysitting, there was a movie about a girl who finds her father after a long absence. My nephew asked me if I had ever met his father after that, so I told a falsehood when I stated I had no idea. Although my sister has always denied knowing who his father is, I felt compelled to inform him after my nephew questioned me. I think he should be aware of this. I therefore informed my sister that I would tell him if she refused to, and that he deserved to know. She's going to stick with what she stated she can tell him when he gets 18. However, I believe that it is unjust for her to ask me to lie to him for another 11 years, and that it is unfair to have him wait 11 years when he wants to know now. She claims that since she is the mother, she has the right to make the decision and that notifying him straight away won't help anything. Since it's her child and her rules, I fear that I may be the bad guy. Our mother concurs that alerting the nephew right away could put my sister in legal hot water if it turns out to be a legitimate contract she signed, and she and the father are content to leave things the way they are. If I revealed my nephew's paternity to him, would that make me a bad person? Multi-Faced declares you to be the jerk. You don't know anything about this partnership, including the terms of this NDA, and it's not your relationship. For example, the parent may withdraw the trust fund if he discovers that his kid has been informed. Don't touch it. Tragically, he claims that the trust and child support are contingent upon his name being kept a secret. You wish to put that in danger. Additionally, you wish to open a huge can of worms. What will your nephew's response be? Is he going to want to meet his dad? His father is unwilling to interact with him. Does he intend to? Most likely not. When your nephew learns that his father doesn't want anything to do with him, how will he feel? When he's a kid, how will he feel about his mother not telling him that? What effect will it have on his mother-son relationship? When you unilaterally back off for your sister, how will she feel? That would be you, the jerk. According to Crashy62, you would be the a-hole. Your sister does not want that information to be shared at this time. You don't have to tell this story. Leave telling your nephew to your sister when he's older.